Good morning, friends. It's great to be back together with you again this week. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about rest time. I'd like you to raise your hand if you still take naps. I know I do sometimes, not because I really was planning on it, but sometimes when I sit down on the couch, I might just fall asleep. So I get my little nap in then. So if you don't take a nap, how many of you just have rest time, like maybe at school where you have to lay down for a while or just take a little bit of a rest? Yeah, there's probably a lot of you that don't take rest time or naps, but you still have to get ready for bedtime at times, right? You still sleep in the evening. So what do you do to calm down and to rest? Some of you might take a bath before bedtime. Those usually make me pretty sleepy. Or you might read a book, or even have someone else read a bedtime story to you. A lot of those things can just kind of calm your body down and quiet you so that you get ready to be able to rest. You know, it's really important for our bodies and our brains to take a break each day. This break makes us stronger, smarter, and more able to grow. Our spirits need a break too. We need a chance to pause in our lives and let our faith grow. Today we will be talking about the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of rest set aside at the end of the week, or for some of us, maybe in the middle of the week, to give our whole selves a chance to rest. As we rest, we focus on God. Many of us think of the Sabbath as being Sunday, and that tends to be our day of rest. But it's an okay thing if it's a different day of the week, if that doesn't work for your schedule. In each of our lives, we play different roles. Right now, I'm your teacher, but I am also a wife, a mother, a grandma, an office manager when I'm at work, and a crafter when I'm just having fun and doing things for myself at home. And those are just a few of my roles. What are some of the different roles that you play? Some of you might be a son, or a daughter, or a student, a friend, an athlete, or an artist, or a scout or 4-H member. In our lives, there are so many different possibilities about things that we can be, and we can be all of those at the same time. Each of these different parts of our lives help us to be the unique people that we are. You can be both a daughter and a sister, or an athlete and a musician. We do things to develop and engage in these roles, but one does not stop the other. Today, the name for Jesus we're going to focus on is Son of Man. This is one of the roles that he played. Jesus' disciples did not call him Son of Man, but Jesus often would refer to himself as the Son of Man. He wanted to make sure people understood him as fully human. As a fully human Messiah, Jesus reminded the people of the prophecies of Daniel. This helped some people want to follow him, but it made other people uncomfortable because they wanted a more powerful Messiah. Today's scripture will give us an idea of what the Pharisees thought of Jesus. You know, if you remember back, we talked about the different groups of religious leaders. The Pharisees were a group that thought it was really, really important to follow all the rules very closely. Some of those rules talked about how they were supposed to not work on the Sabbath day. Our story today comes from the Gospel of Luke, which is in the New Testament. It's in chapter 6, and it's verses 1 through 13. One day, Jesus was walking through the grain fields. His disciples began to break off some heads of grain. They rubbed them together in their hands and ate them. Some of the Pharisees said, "It is against the law to do this on the Sabbath. Why are you doing it?" Jesus answered them, "Haven't you ever read about what David did? He and his men were hungry. He entered the house of God and took the holy bread. He ate the bread that only priests were allowed to eat. David also gave some to his men." Then Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath day." On another Sabbath day, Jesus went into the synagogue and was teaching. A man whose right hand was weak and twisted was there. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law were trying to find fault with Jesus, so they watched him really closely. They wanted to see if he would heal on the Sabbath, and that they would consider work. But Jesus knew what they were thinking. He spoke to the man who had the weak and twisted hand. "Get up, stand in front of everyone," he said. So the man got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to the Pharisees, "What does the law say we should do on the Sabbath day? Should we do good or should we do evil? Should we save a life or should we destroy it?" He looked all around at them. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." The man did, and his hand was as good as new. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were very angry. They began to talk to each other about what they might do to this Jesus. We've talked this morning about the Sabbath as a time to rest. Jesus reminded us that it is also a time to do good. The Pharisees were not certain that you could do both. The Pharisees and Jesus agreed that people should remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. What are some things that you do on a Sunday or whenever your Sabbath or your day of rest is? How do you keep it holy or special for God? One thing that we can do is to come here, right, and spend some time together, learn about God and about each other. Can you think of something else that we could do? Yeah, you could spend time together as a family. During that family time, you could maybe talk about what you learned in Sunday school. Or you could even just play a game together and just spend time together quietly with your family instead of one of you running off for a basketball game and another one running off to perhaps music lessons or all the busyness that happens during the week. But taking that time to come together as family and just being more restful and more calm, that's a great way to spend Sabbath time. Jesus also reminds us that it is important to help each other. That's how God wants us to share his love throughout the world. Can you think of someone who might need our help? Sure. Classmates who don't have a snack or a lunch. How could you help them? Sharing yours with them would be great. You're right. What about someone who got hurt on the playground? You know, if it's just that they fell and you might be able to just help them get back up and then they could go back to playing again. But if they maybe got hurt really badly, you could run and find an adult, call them over to give some help. Because sometimes as little people, it's hard to give help for something like that, and an adult might know what to do. Have you ever seen someone on the playground or at recess that doesn't have a friend to play with? What could you do for them? Yes, it would be great to just say, "Hey, come on, come and play with me," or "Can I play with you? What would you like to do?" Being a good friend is something that's really important. You know, rules can be important, but Jesus wants us to know that nothing should keep us from being kind and caring to each other. There are actually two parts in that Bible story today. The second part of the Bible story talks about Jesus and his apostles. One day, Jesus was out on the mountainside, going out there to pray. He spent the whole night praying. When morning came, he chose 12 of his disciples and made them apostles. Now, a disciple is a follower of Jesus. So any of us could be a disciple because we follow the teachings of Jesus. But an apostle is someone who is sent to share Jesus' teaching with others. And then out of those disciples that all were followers of Jesus at that time, he chose 12. And the names of those disciples that became apostles are Simon, and Jesus gave him the name of Peter, so sometimes you might hear him called Simon, sometimes Peter, and sometimes Simon Peter. All of those are the same name for the same, are different names, for the same guy. Then there was Simon's brother Andrew, and there were James and John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, who was the son of Alphaeus, who was also sometimes referred to as James the Less, another guy named Simon, who was known as the Zealot, Judas, the son of James, but most of the time he was referred to as Thaddeus, and then there was Judas Iscariot. So that made 12 different apostles. In the email that I sent to your adults, your parents, or your people who take care of you, you're going to find some flashcard images of all 12 of the apostles. And some different things or fun things that you could do with that is have 2 sets of them printed out, and you can play a game of memory. That'll help you to kind of get to learn those names of the apostles. But another one that I thought would really be fun is printing out 4 sets of them, and you could play Go Fish. That is so appropriate for disciples, because when Jesus called these followers, remember the story from last week, how Jesus called them that they were no longer going to be fishing for fish to be able to support themselves for their lives, but Jesus called them to be fishers of people. In other words, to gather people in to learn about Jesus. So it seems so appropriate to play Go Fish with the cards for those 12 disciples who later became apostles. I hope you enjoy that. So, thinking about highs and lows again this week. Sometimes that's hard to come up with, isn't it? I sure would love to be hearing from you. I don't really hear too much from any of you, and I hope that if nothing else, you're sharing those with an adult at home. But my low and my high kind of are the same thing. Since the last time we were together, I ended up with having a really, really sore foot. It's a funny little thing they call gout. It's something that you get sometimes when you're older. And for way over a week, it's been a week and a half now, I've really had to kind of take it easy on my foot. Walking on it's been painful, and it just isn't a good thing. It just hurts like crazy. So I sit in the chair with my leg up quite a bit, feeling like I just am not able to do much of anything. But my high is also that it's getting better, that eventually that heals, and my foot is getting to the point where I can walk around pretty easily now. And that's really, really a great thing. So that's really also my God sighting, because that healing touch of God making my foot better is just an amazing thing. God is great in so many ways. So I will be looking forward to hearing from you. Don't forget to have someone send a text or send an email so that I can hear from you. We really do miss you and would love to hear from you, and just can't wait for that day when we can spend more time together again. In our story today, we learned that, yes, it is important to follow rules sometimes, but Jesus taught us that it's never more important to follow strict rules than it is to be kind and caring to others. If those rules get in the way of that, that being kind and caring is so much more important. So it's time now for us to close in prayer. Lord, help us remember to rest. Help us to remember to serve. And to remember to pray. Help us to follow your example each and every day. Help us to show your love in all the ways we can. Amen. So have an awesome week. Enjoy that beautiful snow that's out there. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.